big for lacrosse. Whether it's the biggest thing or not, I guess we'll see. Time will tell. But you know, as in my involvement with the Big Ten now, and our coaches have been directly involved with them for just over a year now, the one impression I'm getting is that they see things, that office, those people see things on such a grand scale and have incredible resources to bring to bear, not just, you know, not just financial resources and physical resources, but influence because of their position in all of college sports. And having that as part of lacrosse now is going to help lacrosse. And they view lacrosse as a major sport. They really do. They told us this in our last meeting, that, you know, they kind of tier the way they think about sports, and they see lacrosse as one of their major sports. So, you know, I think over time, as they get a read on what lacrosse is and what it needs, you're going to see a pretty major impact as the Big Ten figures out how it can work with other conferences, how it can work with the NCAA, how it can work with our coaches' organizations to help the sport move forward.
Well, you know, again, I think very biased opinion, certainly. You know, having been in Ohio State 12, 13 years now, but I think the conference itself is an incredible brand. You know, the leadership in the conference is outstanding. You know, I think we've had a chance to experience that just a little bit as a coaching staff, having our meetings now for our second annual Big Ten Conference meetings. But they do an incredible job of organizing. There's clearly a goal in mind in terms of what they want for the conference. And to your point of what it can do for our game, you know, big picture, I do think having the Big Ten involved in lacrosse, having a stake in its growth, is really positive. You know, whether that's, you know, helping with possibly the officials down the line, organizing, you know, championships, you know, additional media coverage. Now you get the Big Ten Network that's covering a number of more lacrosse games than they ever have. So I think anytime you have, you know, certainly the network in a brand like the Big Ten, it's really positive for the sport. And I think we'll see as it kind of continues to unroll here. But we're thrilled to be in it, and it's going to be a very tough conference. Well, you know, Mr. Smith is adamant, and he always has been about, you know, the growth of the game. And I think the Olympic sports in general, you look at Ohio State, we have 36 sports, one of the largest, if not the largest, athletic department in the country. So, you know, I think under Mr. Smith's leadership, you know, every one of those sports is important. You know, he's very excited. We're going to host the quarterfinals in 2016 at Ohio State in Columbus, which is, you know, very exciting for us, new for the Midwest. But I think, you know, he's in tune with the idea that what this conference can do, and, you know, we mentioned the TV, the branding, you know, the importance of you know, bringing in some of the teams that we have now to the league. I think you're going to see maybe possibly some more expansion in college athletics generally. You know, coming from the very top of the NCAA, you know, the next 36 months in college athletics, you know, could be the most critical that it's ever seen, you know, in terms of just overall change. So I'm not sure necessarily that we all know exactly what to expect. But I know that being a part of the conference and being now in the Big Ten, being with the teams and the associations that we have is really important, you know, certainly for the longevity of our program, and excited to be a part of it.
There's just, you enter into a bigger school, a Big Ten type school, and there are just so many complexities that go along with that, within the athletic department, within the campus at large, academically and socially. And it's taken us as a coaching staff a long time to kind of come to grips with the value of Penn State. We've known about the education, we've known about the athletic department, but there's a lot of things underneath that that we have since uncovered in those 4 years. And, you know, I never imagined that the Big Ten Lacrosse Conference would be a reality this soon. You know, it was exciting to have Michigan join Ohio State and Penn State as 3 Big Ten schools, but and then, you know, progress 2 years later. Fast forward into Maryland, Rutgers, and Johns Hopkins, that reality was not something I thought was going to happen at this point. You know, I think it's important for the 3 schools, Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, to continue to thrive. I think that kind of the bridge into, you know, the Midwest and over into the West, I think it goes through those 3 schools, and you know, along with the Big Ten Conference. I just think that you know, the notoriety that comes with that is just going to be great for the sport of lacrosse. There's been great camaraderie within the 6 coaching staffs and 6 teams moving into this in terms of discussions about what we want to look like as a conference. The professionalism of the Big Ten has been off the charts, and you know, I think we're all very excited, but I think we also understand our responsibility as a conference in moving the game and moving the sport forward. and you carry it back to your campus, and there's a great deal of pressure in terms of being symbolic of what Big Ten lacrosse means as you put it aside to just Big Ten athletics in general. So, excitement certainly comes to mind. It's a pleasant surprise to be at this point, but I also think there's a great deal of responsibility. I think each of the 6 head coaches realize the responsibility that we take on, along with that excitement, to try to help carry this game forward, the sport of lacrosse, which is kind of at a crossroad right now with the funding that's going on within the footballs and the basketballs, especially within the Big Ten or the Power 5 conferences. So it's an exciting time. We know there's probably a lot of learning to do, but I know the Big Ten has been very eager to move this thing forward and to do it in a certain way, which is symbolic of what they've done with all other sports in a very professional way. And I think it's not going to help just those schools in the Big Ten. I really believe it's going to help the sport of lacrosse in general. I've talked a lot to the hockey staff and have developed a really nice relationship with Coach Godowski, the head coach of the Penn State team, and I admire what he's done in a short period of time. They've taken a very good club team and then transitioned into an extremely reputable Division I hockey team in an extremely difficult conference in a short period of time. Getting those guys to understand the difference of competing on a weekly basis was probably one of the biggest challenges that they've had. But the Big Ten did a great job of thrusting Penn State into this, thrusting Big Ten hockey into this. So I think the same will hold true with our guys. I think we're a little bit further along. The CAA was a very competitive conference week in and week out. Adding Maryland, Johns Hopkins is a totally different ball game. You're living with the blue bloods of college lacrosse. So I think it's important for our guys to understand the competition that's going to hold true. But we have played against Ohio State. We have played against Michigan. We have played against Rutgers in the past. So the transition is probably going to be a little bit different for us than it was for them. It was brand new across the board for them. We're probably going 50-50 with some of the competition. The good thing for us is now having a conference tournament. We're back in the mix there, so that'll be fun. But we've talked a lot. The growth of his program relative to the growth of our program, there's a lot of similarities there, and I admire the way he's gone about it, and I'm hopeful that we can kind of follow him behind the wake of teams like our hockey team up there and find success in a short period of time within a very, very competitive conference.
I think first of all, the excitement across campus. Both athletically and educationally, the professors and the deans, I think, to be associated with like institutions, both academically and athletically, has been great. And you can see the support on campus and obviously with our alumni. So our administration has been fantastic as far as getting us ready and providing us all the things that we need to compete right away in the Big Ten. And obviously, as a new member, we certainly know there's going to be some growth that we're going to have to figure out, but the teams that we're going to be associated with, the conference play at the end of the season leading up to the tournament, I think it's going to be fantastic for our alumni, but also for the guys coming out of that locker room every day. I think we've done a good job of giving ourselves a great schedule nationally with some local rivalries and national games, but now that second half of the season where it comes into Big Ten play, our alumni and fans and the attendance that we can draw here in New Jersey, I think is going to be fun for the lacrosse community, but also for our players to be able to play in that atmosphere on campus at Rutgers. I think overall there's going to be tremendous growth. As you mentioned, the brand, the marketing, what the Big Ten can offer infrastructure-wise. Being a major conference and all the resources they have, the TV network with the BTN games that we're going to have on TV. We'll have 4 nationally televised games this year, which will be exciting for our alumni, our fans across the country that maybe can't get to campus and see every game, but also for our players and for the recruiting aspect. Having Rutgers be on TV 4 times nationally. That's more than we've been for the last 3 years I've been here. So I think it helps across the board with the energy on campus and in the state of New Jersey, but also with our alumni and the recruiting and certainly our student athletes now as they're finishing up their career, starting their career as Big Ten student athletes.
Yeah, change seems to be happening a lot in intercollegiate athletics, and obviously football is really driving the ship on that, and I think we all have to understand that. I think it's actually been very exciting down at College Park this fall with Big Ten football. We've seen just a huge impact on a lot of different levels into different sports. I think what you've seen is a lot of potential in the Big Ten, just knowing that you have schools that have tremendous resources, great facilities, excellent brands. And I know all the coaches are very talented and hardworking. They're a hardworking group. So I think the future is very bright for Big Ten lacrosse. And it's exciting, I think, not only for the coaches involved, but I think it's exciting for the sport, people in the Midwest, non-traditional areas. And I think a lot of people are watching to see how things pan out. Well, in terms of the Big Ten, I think what we found a few years ago when we were thinking about moving to the Big Ten and the university, one of the things that was really important to our athletic director, Kevin Anderson, was what was going to happen to a number of sports, but obviously lacrosse was one that I think he knew would be impacted. Not having a league to go to was concerning for him, and I give him a lot of credit going out and obviously having some discussions with people in the Big Ten like Jim Delaney, and really securing Johns Hopkins. I think you have to give Kevin Anderson a lot of credit for what he has done behind the scenes to try to help make the Big Ten the best it can be. And Jim Delaney has been fantastic as well. He's obviously a very bright guy. The Big Ten, the network, just the brand is obviously a pretty impressive one, and a lot of that is due to the administration and behind Jim's lead. So I think down the road it should be more and more exciting as we go through this. I think being part of the initial Big Ten conference is something that all of us will obviously look back on a long time from now, but hopefully what it does is that other conferences and maybe different conferences will see what we're building here, and maybe they'll jump in and help our sport, because at the end of the day we really need to keep thinking what can we do to help the sport grow, what is best for the sport, and anything we can do, we have to really think long and hard about doing it to try to help make this sport and the best it can be, and continue to grow to not only our country but all over the world.
You think about the greatest impact that the Big Ten has in our inaugural season, and I mean, obviously the biggest part of that is a second bite at the apple. At least for Johns Hopkins it is. We haven't had that luxury in the past. We've had to earn our way in, and we've had to earn it by beating the Syracuses, the Virginias, the Carolinas, the Princetons of the world. And if we didn't have a second opportunity to go into the conference tournament and compete for conference championship and then get an NAQ. This year we have that. Now obviously we have to earn our way into the Big Ten tournament first, and then you do your job there, and you've got that second bite at the apple. So I think initially the first thing that comes to mind is exactly that, is we have two avenues which we've never had before. So with that comes some different challenges, and for us now, you go from these traditional rivalries with Syracuse, with Virginia, with Carolina, with Princeton, and now all of a sudden those huge rivalries are still important, but the conference games become crucial because they're the ones that are going to get you into the Big Ten tournament, and then obviously performing well at that tournament is going to get you into the NCAA. So, for us, a change of approach is interesting. Do we struggle with going from those rivalry games to these new games, or these games that will hopefully become, certainly will become new rivalries, and how we handle that? So I think the key for us is just going to be, game by game by game, and just take it one game at a time. I know that's cliche-ish, but our approach has got to be whatever's right in front of us. I don't know that we can take a different approach for any team. So that'll be a challenge. I think the fact that we're connected with one of the, if not the premier conference in athletics. I think what we've found is the Big Ten, their tentacles are so far-reaching, maybe much further than we even anticipated. And given all this stuff that's going on in college sports with the Power Five, and this cost of attendance stuff, and the challenges Olympic sports will face, I think it's great for us to kind of have gotten under a little bit of that blanket of security by being with the Big Ten. But we are tremendously excited. What's been neat is to see how excited our guys are. When we talk as a team, there's talk the Big Ten conference, the regular season. There's talk of the Big Ten tournament. There's talk of one of the goals being Big Ten champions. And those are things we've never heard before. So it's been really exciting to see the guys kind of take hold of this thing and be excited to be a part of it.